What's up, everybody? Michael Johnson here with the Business Choreography Podcast. I'm excited you joined me today because we have a very special guest all the way from down under. We have Sue Kennedy. Sue is a book coach and business expert and has over 3 decades of book coaching, speaking, and most importantly, real life in the trenches business experience. Sue appreciates and shares with listeners that writing your story is a journey that allows you to access your untapped, forgotten, or ignored passions and energies that will get you moving. Her successes include running online workshops to help authors get the best leverage they can from their books. Guys, we are so privileged and lucky to have her here with us on the show today. I'm excited for you to meet her. So let's cue the intro and we'll jump right in. Listen, there's a lot to learn when growing and scaling your business.
That's why we created the Business Choreography Podcast, where we talk about choreographing your marketing, operations, and sales into dynamic systems that increase your revenue and your impact.
We'll explore solid business principles and discuss all things that make businesses dance to success with clarity.
We'll help you figure out where the holes are in your business and what you can do to fix them. Think of us as your official business choreographers, aka your insider growth strategists.
Remember, your choreography matters. Welcome to the Business Choreography Podcast. Sue, thank you so much for joining us on the show. It is a pleasure to have you today.
Thank you, Michael, so much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to be here with you.
Oh my goodness, we've got so many things to talk about, and I've been privileged to know you for a little while now and excited to share your journey and your story and the background behind how you got to here and what you're doing and how you're helping so many people these days with the amazing stuff that you're doing. And so we've got to start with the backstory and the journey of how you got to this point doing this stuff. So go back as far as you'd like, and let's weave through that journey and go from the beginning.
Okay, thank you. So it's not a very pretty story to go back to, but it's what's made me who I am today. So that's the good part about it. So I had the husband, the house, the dog, all that. It was all going absolutely wonderfully, and then all of a sudden it all came crashing down. The marriage broke down. I lost my house. I lost my dog. And I fell into a very, very dark hole and I didn't even really realize that, what was happening. And until I sort of heard someone talking about it, and I thought, hang on, that sounds a bit like me and what I'm going through. And then I realized that I was in a very deep depression. And not surprisingly, because, everything just came crashing down, as I said. And I even got to the point where I considered suicide, and thankfully it didn't happen, and it was all because of the dogs that I had at the time. And I only just recently lost one of my dogs, only a few weeks ago, that was one of my saviors. And so he was a big part of my life. And I'm so grateful to both of them, and I still have the other one. So so what happened was I then thought, well, I need to research what's going on with me. And so I did do a lot of research about depression and anxiety. And I did that to heal myself predominantly, and then went, do you know, if I actually put this into a book, I could help a lot of other people.
Right.
So I thought, why not? So that's what I did. And of course, back then when that was going on, there weren't people like me, book coaches, that could help. So I had to do all the research and work out how to do that and all the pieces that you have to do to get it actually done. And it is a lot easier these days, of course, but it's still, it would have been a lot more helpful if I had someone to be able to lean on and hold my hand pretty much.
Right.
So I did that, and my first book was born, and I'll never forget the day that I actually went and picked that up and held that book in my hand and saw my name on the front of this book. It was the most amazing feeling. I was so proud, and it was really the turning point, from there onwards. And I then went on to, of course, I've written 10 other books, and of course haven't stopped, and now also, of course, helping lots of other people. And I also then had to write I was asked to run a workshop actually for business owners, and I thought, oh, wouldn't it be awesome to have books to sell at the back of the room? And so I thought I can do that. So I wrote 3 different books around social media, etc., and business. So I did that, and of course, that was also a big thing that changed everything. So, and I remember going to a big meeting, like I was part of a big, and you guys was born in the US, a BNI, big networking group. And I remember going there, and I mean, yes, I was a member. I was actually the vice president at the time, and people like knew of me, but didn't really connect with me that much until the president grabbed my books and went, "Oh my goodness, look what Sue has done. She's got 3 books that she's written," and people started buying the books. They At the end of the meeting, they all were coming up to me and, like, they just completely changed the way they looked at me, and I all of a sudden had so much credibility. And I thought, "Wow, I need to be able to share this with other people as well, because it really can change the way your business stands in the world." So I highly recommend doing that, and this is why I help people. So I suppose in a nutshell, that's pretty much it. From all that, I thought I need to start helping other people be able to do the same thing.
Right. What a cool journey. And I mean, maybe not so cool as you had to go through it and experience it, but it's amazing the interesting things that come about from the maybe downturns that we think are not good for us in our life. And it's so inspiring to hear that. I feel like so many entrepreneurs in the world, and especially entrepreneurs that are going out and starting businesses and trying to create this vision in the world, we go through these ups and we go through these downs. And sometimes when we're in the trough, when we're in the bottom and it feels the lowest of the low, it seems like, why is this happening to me? And then it is
Mm,
so wonderful to hear from you on the other side of it, the result of something like that, and something that really led you to be able to help and inspire other entrepreneurs. And I know, I have a few books as well, and I know when we connected, I was just so excited to hear somebody that had gone through a journey like that, and the value of having these books. But I want to dig in just a little bit to talking about writing a book, because I remember when I first got into to decide to write a book, it was such a daunting
mm.
feeling. Let alone after I was done with the first one, I thought, I don't think I'll ever do that again because it was so hard. And so I want you to talk to us about that feeling of it being so daunting that maybe some of our listeners are like, I don't think I could ever do that, maybe ever even start.
Oh, definitely. But firstly, I just want to say that we are meant to go through these dark periods in our life so that we can then see the blessing in that, and take that and run with it and turn it into something very beautiful and special. So, if you have or are going through something like that, have a look and see what the gift is in that and run with it. So, but going back to your question, Michael, yes, it's a very big, daunting thing to attack. And this is why a lot of people don't actually get their books done, because it's such a big thing to tackle. That's why people just end up going, "Yeah, this is all too hard. I'm not doing that." But, and this is why I guide people through these steps, because it is quite difficult, especially knowing where to start and then going with that. So, of course, figuring out what your book's about is very important, and you need to be really passionate about it. If you're not passionate enough, you won't get the book written. It's as simple as that. And one of the biggest things that I tell people when they start is to write their last chapter first. And people are like, "What? Why would I do that?" Well, the reason is because when you know where that book's going to end, you've got a lot better chance of getting the rest of it written that all leads towards the end of it. It's a lot easier for you to figure out what the steps are that lead up to that ending.
Right. I love that.
Hmm.
Begin with the end in mind. Of course. I mean, we talk about it all the time. Why not with the book? And why not with that mentality? You know, with so many business owners, and I'm a big proponent of having a book and doing that work to become an author. But I feel like with so many business owners that I've talked to along the journey, it seems like they think that they don't have anything to write about, or that what they're doing in their business people wouldn't buy a book about, or they wouldn't buy anything to read about that. And so I feel like there's that sentiment that I come across a lot. So what would you say to that, and what have been your experiences in that regard?
Well, if you're in business, then clearly you've got an audience, right?
Right.
So it's the same. If you write a book about that, then you've already got an audience, but you've probably got more of an audience that you haven't even tapped into yet, because the audience you've already got are the ones that probably know about you. But with a book, you can attract a lot more, because then you can put into your book, I highly recommend that you talk about your story and how you got there, because people are so interested in knowing that. Like,
Right.
yes, they want to know about the business, but they want to know about you and how you actually got there. And that gives you credibility along, of course, with having the book and all the other things of how you built the book. Like, currently I'm working with an author they've been in business for 20 years. And so they're putting all of that and celebrating that with a book. And I think that's fantastic, because 20 years is a long time to be in business. And
Right.
what better way to celebrate it than in a book?
Right.
So, and yeah, just going back to, that what I was saying with being in that networking group, having those books, it really shows that you have the expertise, and it does really give you credibility. Having that
Right.
book, it's like, wow, well, okay, if they've got a business and they've also got a book about it, they must be pretty good.
Right. Right. Talk to me a little bit about the difference now in doing and creating a book as opposed to when you got started initially, because like you said early on, the times have changed a lot. And I know even from the times that I started doing it to now, I don't have 11 books under my belt, but it's changed a lot. So talk to me about the differences, maybe some of the things that are easier now, maybe some of the things that are harder now. I don't know, you tell us.
Well, I think, I've created from everything that I've done, because I started out, one of my books was how to write a book, because
Right.
people kept saying to me, how do you write a book? I thought, well, maybe I need to write one about that. So I did, which I then turned that into workshops. And of
Right.
course, then that got into now coaching as well. So, you know, I think it has changed a lot. But you still have the same basic steps that you have to follow. I have created a unique 5-step process, with everything that I've learnt. But what I've added, and why mine is unique, is I've added an art component, which I know a lot of people will be like, what? But I love art and I love writing. And I'm like, which do I choose? And I thought, well, why should I choose? Why not have both? Because they both actually complement each other. So the process I do with the art, there's a couple of different methods I use. And what that allows you to do is unblock the story that's inside of you. So if you're blocked, this will actually tap into your subconscious and help you bring all of that forward and be able to, you know, grab all the gold that's in there, that is in there within you. So,
I love that. I
mm.
love that. What about technology wise? I mean, has a lot changed from when you first started to now that makes it easier?
Yeah, a lot easier. Like, there's there's different. I mean, Microsoft Word's been around forever, and that's all I
Sure.
use. But there are lots of other great tools out there now which were never around. So that's also helpful. I mean, even transcribing, that wasn't around when I was doing it. So, if
Right.
you're not someone that wants to type, you can get it. You can just, get a microphone and talk it out and get someone to type it up for you. Or there's even programs now that you can just plug what you've recorded and it spits it out in words to you. So
Right.
it's changed a lot, but I think having someone help you is still important because there are still some little steps that without knowing how to do that you could get stuck and then
Absolutely.
not move forward with it, which would be a shame.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, it's like with anything. You can learn anything on YouTube, but that doesn't mean you should go and do it by yourself. I was looking at, it's a long story, but I was looking at videos of how to use a jackhammer. I have no intention of doing that, and nor should I ever pick up a jackhammer. I mean, there just is not a good reason for me to do that. So again, long story as to why I was looking that up. But the point is, I can look it up, and I can learn to use a jackhammer on YouTube. But I probably shouldn't. And that's and if I was going to, there's probably a really good need for a teacher, a mentor, some type of advisor, or somebody that's going to be there with me so that I don't jackhammer my foot off. And and
Yeah.
I think that's it, right?
Yep.
You can do a lot of things and you can learn a lot of things, but I always say that we have left the age of information. Information is readily available. But now it's important that we find people like you that can give us insight. Not only have you written a ton of books, you've taught people how to write books, and you've created courses out of writing books and workshops and things to do with the book so that it's not just, a trophy on the shelf. And that is so imperative. So, what can you say to that end? Like you coach and help people, and why do people have such a hard time making that decision to work with somebody when I don't know, it seems so obvious to me the insight is necessary.
Exactly. Well, the beauty of having someone else, I mean, we all have mentors. I mean, I have one for my business as well, because it's so good to be able to go, what do you think about this idea? And, you know, would this work, do you think? And okay, well, I've got an idea of how to do it, but can you sort of guide me? So, it's really important to have that person there to be able to lean up against and get the insights, as you say, because you could just one little thing that you think, oh yeah, this is how to do it, and you go down that road, and all of a sudden you've gone down some rabbit hole that, you know, is of no use to you and taken your eye off the prize.
Right.
So, it's and just being able to have someone to get feedback from,
Right.
and talk about, about what's going on. Like, even when, we go through the process of, unblocking your story, like, there could be some things that come up there that make you feel uncomfortable as well. So with that, I navigate and help you navigate through that so that we can, you know, leave that behind, like deal with it, yes, in a nice, way, and then move forward with it so that you can let that go and move forward and, yeah, do some amazing things.
Earlier you said start with the end in mind, and I think it's so valuable. I say it on a regular basis to entrepreneurs by asking them what their vision is. What's their vision of what they want this thing to look like and where they want to grow to? And I know, generally speaking, society tends to go, okay, don't dream so big, start with the little stuff. And it's like, well, you have to have that great vision of what it could be, and you have to be able to know what you're trying to accomplish. And I think that's what you were saying. But in preparation for having you help us as a coach and a mentor to write our books. So as everybody's listening, they're going, okay, I like this and I get it and I like the idea. So in preparation for that, I'm going to put you on the spot a little, but could you give us like 3 steps that we could take to get prepared to have you on our team? Like what should we do besides having the end in mind? And we got that underway, but just to start getting ready to bring you on board to help us.
Okay, so I mentioned it. The first thing is to find out, well, what are you passionate about? You know, what's your expertise? And of course, you know, well, what's the end goal for the book? Like
Right.
if you're in business, like, is it to, you know, I mean, regardless of what kind of book it's going to be, it's going to give you credibility. But is it a book, perhaps, depending on what kind of business you have, is it a workbook? You know,
Right.
is it something that you can use for a workshop to get more clients in? Is it a book
Right.
that you're going to give to new clients to bring them on board? So working out the end goal of what the book is meant to achieve is really good. The other thing is to work out what the book's going to be about. So where you're going to start, and we, of course, as I said, we know we're going to work out what the end is, but what are the steps? Like, where are you going to start that? Is it at the beginning of the business? Is it a little bit before the business starts? Like how you perhaps, which I think is great, how you came up with the idea for the business and how that has evolved. So again, it's depending on what the business is, but then, you know, working out the different sections or chapters of the book is really good to, and yeah, it may change over time, and that's okay. I've had people that come and they go, "Yep, this is how I want it." We get sort of part way in, and it's like, "Yeah, I don't know if I like that idea anymore. think I think I'm writing the wrong book," and then we brainstorm it, and all of a sudden, that's what you're supposed to be writing about. So
I see.
we pivot and we put them back, you know, on the right path, which, you know, and that happens, and there's nothing wrong with that, because the book that they had started writing, possibly part of that will come into the current book that they've now, you know, decided to work on, or it could be another book down the road. So it's never a wrong thing for that to happen. But yeah, so that's another thing. And then, of course, what I say to people is then chunk that down each chapter, like find the little subtopics within each chapter. Like, what are they? Get four to six of those, and then, you know, add them to each chapter, and then that's just going to make you, you know, write that chapter a lot easier, instead of going, oh my goodness, I've got to write this chapter now, and where do I even start?
Right. I love that. That's so helpful. I want to address sort of the not so pink elephant in the room uh, that sort of showed up in the last year, since maybe November, I guess, and that's the good old Chat GPT and
Mm.
AI and the implication of that on authors and in the coming days. I'd love to know your thoughts about that and using AI to help people write these books. Is it good? Is it bad? Where shouldn't we do it? What should we like? What are your thoughts about it? You're right in the space of it. I'm sure you hear about people wanting to use it a lot. I'd love to hear your thoughts about it.
Well, I love AI, and I love Chat GPT. I think it's great. And I mean, of course, it's the future, but you need to use it the right way.
Right.
I think a lot of people have gone, oh my goodness, it can just do all the work for me. No, no,
Right.
it can't. And if you do that, you're going to get caught out, because Google are going to find out that it's all done by ChatGPT, and they're going to pretty much go, yeah, this is all. It's basically back. It goes back to the days when, you know, people would pinch other people's stuff, and same kind of thing. And it's not their own work. They have algorithms to figure that out, so they will find you out. The beauty of ChatGPT is fantastic to get ideas. It's
Right.
more to get ideas, and then you work with those ideas and expand on those. So that's the best way to use it, not to actually go write my book.
Right. Right. I
No.
love that. I think we might have talked about this the very first time we met, and I have this concern that there will be a bubble of time where AI has now been introduced. Everybody's leaning in really hard, and there is a lack of original work being done by original thought. And I have this concern that bubble of us doing this for maybe 4 or 5 years is going to produce this weird type of content. And in about 10 years, we're going to look back and go, oh, that's just lacking soul. And it's lacking
Exactly.
the guts of human creation. But I don't know. What are your thoughts? Do you think that's
Mm.
a real thing?
It definitely is. It's the same it's the same also, like I've heard a lot of people lately say, they've purchased books online and they get these books and it's like, oh my God, it's actually quite rubbish. Like it doesn't really make sense. It's really badly written. I don't want to buy books anymore because,
Right,
and it's all boiled down to, you can go online and self-publish a book so easily now, but you're actually not, adding value to the world because
right,
without getting the proper guidance, you're actually, potentially putting rubbish out there. And this is going to be the same with ChatGPT if people are
right,
using it incorrectly. It's the same thing. You
right,
know, we will, and I agree, we'll have a lot of rubbish out there for a while until people like Google and whatever hone in and rein that in and come up with algorithms to stop that from happening so
right,
that we can, you know, give value to, well, we're Google's audience, so that we get the proper information coming out and that, that humans are writing it because, AI doesn't have personality or emotion. Well,
right.
sure they'll figure something out so that it does, but hopefully maybe not in our time, I don't know,
I don't know.
but yeah, I don't know, it's moving pretty quickly, but honestly, at the end of the day, people wanna hear your story coming from your heart,
Right,
not from a machine.
right. No
Chat
doubt.
ChatGPT, all it is a glorified Google search. That's all it
Right,
is.
right.
All it is.
It's crazy. Well, and I heard somebody else talk about this, and this was how I wrote my second book. And it was I knew I wasn't much of a writer. And so I just thought, okay, I just have to do what I can do. And so I was going on a long road trip and I spent 5 hours on a 5.5 hours on a long road trip with a microphone and just talking it all out. And
Mm,
then back then I had to get help from an editor to kind of organize it and put it all together. And uh,
mm.
nowadays there's a lot of cool things that you can do, but I still don't think it would be wise to not utilize experts like yourself. And I feel like that's really something that might be necessary moving forward into that era of finding human made content, is still being able to access the experts like yourself and being able to do that. And I feel like books in the past have had that. They've had beautiful and wonderful editors that were artists themselves and helping these authors that are trying to get the ideas out of their experience in life onto paper, but in a way that they maybe weren't necessarily an author. That's why you have great mentors and editors to help you to bring it together. I am so glad that you could join us on the show, and I'm so curious, like, what's the process look like if one of our listeners is hearing right now and they're going, you know what, yeah, it's time. This came up today and it's like, okay, that's a sign I need to do it. This is this is in front of their face and they want to get started. So what does it look like if they were to jump in, let's say tomorrow, and start working with you? What's the process? What happens? What can they look forward to?
Okay, so what we do is we set up an initial meeting, of course, to make sure that we're the right fit for each other. And I walk you through all the different steps that we will go through, but it will be meeting on Zoom. because most people are not just down the road anymore. They're across the other side of the world.
Right.
So, and thank you that, COVID for allowing us to all get closer
doubt.
in a sense. So, yeah, so we meet on Zoom every couple of weeks, and we, of course, work through all the steps together. I give you homework, of course, because I'd love to write the book for you, but it's got to come from you.
Right.
So, but yeah, I hold your hand pretty much all the way through. And of course, then part of my coaching program also includes having a professional proofread and edit of the book. It also includes getting it laid out ready to print, and it also includes printed copies of the book. So,
Wow.
it's all there.
That's great. And how can people get in touch and find you so that they can get connected and maybe get this process started? Because all of you guys out there have a book in you and you need to get started.
Yes, exactly. So they can go to the authoracademy.com.au, but I also have a link that I sent you, Michael, that they can also go to, which is now on the screen, authoracademy.com.au/gifts, which there are a few other gifts on there as well, but you can also book a session with me on that page as well.
That's awesome. That's really great. And so kind of you to put that together for us and all of the listeners. Guys, go check it out. authoracademy.com.au/gifts and go get those gifts that she's prepared for you, because for goodness sakes, get started. I mean, that's really the key. You gotta start. You gotta quit putting it off, because if you're in business right now, there are so many great reasons, and we could probably go on and on for hours. There's so many great reasons that you should have a book of your own, and that you should be able to put author next to your name and next to your business. And there's so many wonderful things that you can do from it. So utilize Sue to get going on that, and have an expert ace mentor in your pocket to help you get this thing done. Sue, before we head out, any last words for our audience today?
I think you covered it. Just start, get it happening.
Right. I love that. All right, guys. Well, as usual, until the next episode, keep choreographing your business. Keep moving forward strong. We'll see you guys next time. Take care.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us today.
Want more business choreography?
Check out our website at bizchoreo.com to find out more.
And find out how the choreography for your marketing, operations, and sales can raise your revenue and create more impact.